Welcome back to my channel. My name is Lacey Alanna and I create videos about pregnancy, being a soon-to-be first-time mom, being a wife, and managing a household in a simplified way. Thank you so much for watching. Today I'm going to be talking about weeks 12 and 13 of pregnancy in a pregnancy update. If you have not watched my first pregnancy update about weeks 4 through 11, please go and watch that now so that you can know some of the backstory of how I found out I was pregnant and my symptoms up to this point. So if you are interested in my week 12 and 13 pregnancy symptoms, please keep watching. So welcome back to another pregnancy update. Today I'm going to be talking about weeks 12 and 13. I am actually 14 weeks pregnant. I just turned 14 weeks 3 days ago. So I'm just kind of getting caught up on these pregnancy update videos, but we're going to talk about weeks 12 and 13 today. So I kind of came up with a format for these updates that I'm going to use, talking about some different categories. So we'll go through those, and it's going to be a little bit different than my previous update. First, I'm going to talk about what apps I'm using to track my pregnancy. I am using the What to Expect app. I love that they give you tons of facts about your baby. They give you a new video every week to watch, and they also have a community page where you can participate in hundreds and thousands of different forums, from first-time moms to moms in your local area to pretty much any category that you can think of. So I love the What to Expect app. The second app that I'm using is the Pregnancy Plus app. That app shows you a lot of detailed images of what your baby looks like each week and how they are developing. I love to use both of those apps to track baby's growth. By the end of week 13, baby is the size of a lemon and intestines and vocal cords are developing. I just find it so fascinating to track baby's growth, along with tracking my growth and just thinking about how small baby is and all of the features that they have. It's just like really interesting, and it is an amazing time for me. So next, I'll talk about prenatal care and any appointments, doctor's appointments that I've had in weeks 12 and 13. So this past 2 weeks, I've had 2 appointments. One is the nuchal translucency ultrasound. I went to a OB and I had an ultrasound that lasted about 45 minutes. I got to see baby up on the screen, and this was the longest ultrasound that I've had so far. The ultrasound kind of just, it seemed like the ultrasound tech was looking at different body parts and for any abnormalities, and she also was looking for any, I believe this test looks for any signs of a genetic disorder like Down syndrome or any of the trisomy disorders. After the ultrasound, I had a blood test. So they did a finger prick and they were testing again for any signs of those genetic disorders in my blood. They did give me an option to have a more expensive test called the NIPT, but they informed me that that would not be covered by my insurance, so I just did the basic test, especially because, as far as I know, I'm not high risk, and they didn't see anything on the ultrasound that looked worrisome. So I went with the basic test that is covered by insurance, and that test does not tell you the gender of your baby, whereas the more expensive test does tell you the gender of your baby. So we got our results about a week later, and all of the results came back normal, that they didn't suspect that our baby had any genetic disorders, and they give you a number. They give you it's like a 1 in 1,000 or a 1 in 100,000 or a 1 in 1 million. Basically, they tell you the chances of your baby having some genetic disorder based on everything that they saw and the blood test. The next appointment that we had was a private ultrasound. So I found a local office that does private ultrasound. So there's so many of them, and they offer a gender determination ultrasound as early as 13 weeks. So I believe that this particular ultrasound tech that runs this business is also an ultrasound tech in a high-risk obese office. So we booked the appointment through her website, and it was a super nice office. We went in, and one of the reasons that we booked this is because my husband has not been able to go to any of my appointments in person, although we FaceTimed in the appointments. He's not allowed to come in. We wanted to get an ultrasound where he was allowed to come in, and they did allow one person at this private ultrasound. And we also wanted to find out the gender of our baby before the anatomy scan at 20 weeks. So we paid around $80 to get a 15-minute gender determination ultrasound at this private ultrasound office. Now, if we rewind to the nuchal translucency screening, my husband was not there, and as soon as they started the ultrasound, I saw on the screen what looked like boy private parts. And I definitely asked the ultrasound tech, and she told me, well,
it's too early to determine the gender of the baby.
And then at the end of the ultrasound, she goes,
if you really want to know, I'm about 90% sure that this baby is a boy.
So we were really happy, but we also had to go to that gender determination ultrasound a few days later, and we felt like that would be confirmation for us, but also it would be a chance for my husband to come in person to an ultrasound. So typically, moms find out the gender of their baby at the 20-week anatomy scan unless they pay for that early blood test that a lot of insurance plans don't cover. So we were really blessed to be able to find out the gender of our baby, one through the nuchal translucency scan, but then also through finding a private ultrasound tech who does gender determination so early in pregnancy. And there are other places that do gender determination, but they start at 15 or 16 weeks, which is closer and closer to the time of the anatomy scan. So we really wanted to get it done early. Let's talk about my symptoms in weeks 12 and 13. So if you watched my last pregnancy update, I talked about the nausea being insane. In weeks 12 and 13, the nausea pretty much continued. I will say that it was a little bit less intense, but it definitely continued, and it continued throughout the day, so morning to night. I found that in weeks 12 and 13, my heartburn definitely increased. So whenever I wasn't having the nausea, because it had decreased a little bit, I found that the heartburn increased. So I really had to make sure that I was sitting up for 45 minutes after eating a meal so that I didn't get like crazy heartburn. I also noticed that when I hadn't got a good night's sleep the night before, then the next day my nausea would be like out of control. Whereas when I got like better rest, my nausea would be a little bit more controllable and it would be a little bit less intense. So definitely make sure that you're getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep, because that really, really helped with the intensity of the all day morning sickness. Weeks 12 and 13, I noticed pretty similar symptoms to the beginning of the first trimester. I noticed that my boobs continued to be sore, and my belly was very, very itchy, like extremely itchy. And I assume that that's from my belly just stretching and growing. But I also noticed that in week 12, I started to get headaches. I started to get maybe one or two headaches that week. So the nausea decreased a little bit, but I noticed that I was getting more headaches. And I noticed that drinking water helped them. Going too long without eating brought on headaches, and going too long without having enough water definitely brought on the intense headaches. And the last new symptom of weeks 12 and 13 that I noticed was growing pains. Um, they're really hard to describe, but just having a sore belly and having sharp pains in my belly and belly button, I noticed really increased during weeks 12 and 13. And everything that I've read and everything that I've seen describes them as growing pains. I'm not really sure if it's round ligament pain yet at this point, um, because it's not as much on the sides as it was around the belly button area and in the lower abdomen. So I definitely had some growing pains in these past 2 weeks because baby is going through a lot of growth. Comment down below if you know anything about those growing pains or what they're called. Is it round ligament pain? Is it not? I definitely love to hear from you guys in the comments. So I'm gonna give you guys a quick belly shot so you can see what I look like now at 14 weeks, just newly 14 weeks. Unfortunately, I did not get this video done sooner, so I'm a little bigger than I was at 13 weeks, but it's all good. And here is the belly shot. And that is all for my weeks 12 and 13 pregnancy update. Please subscribe to my channel and follow me on Instagram for regular posts about this journey. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.